Welcome to this explainer. Listen, we're going to completely shift how you view the job market and your own career potential today. If you've ever looked at salaries, scratched your head, and thought, wow, this system is totally random or just plain unfair, you are in the exact right place. We are decoding the hidden economics of high-paying jobs to build a really wholesome understanding of what employers are actually paying for.
Let's start with a frustrating but honestly super relatable question. Why on earth does one role pay literally triple the salary of another, even if both people work just as hard? I mean, you see it all the time, right? Two people logging the exact same hours, dealing with the exact same stress, but taking home wildly different paychecks. The difference isn't just effort. The difference is a hidden underlying economic structure that we are about to uncover together.
Here's our agenda for today. First, why some jobs pay more. Second, the hidden salary equation. Third, spotting better opportunities. And fourth, thinking like the market.
Section 1. Why some jobs pay more.
We've got to start by shattering the grand illusion of the job market. Most of us were taught this really comforting little formula growing up. Work hard, get paid. But to build a lasting career strategy, the absolute first truth you have to internalize is that employers do not pay for your busyness. They don't pay for motion, they pay for outcomes. It's so easy to miss because effort feels highly visible. We see the late nights, the perfectly color-coded spreadsheets, the Slack messages at 9 p.m. That feels like hard work. But think about a restaurant paying a supplier. They honestly don't care how hard the driver worked or how much traffic they hit or how much they sweated. They just care that the ingredients arrived fresh and on time so they can serve their customers. Pay always follows outcomes, not motion.
Section 2. The hidden salary equation. The system isn't random. It's built entirely on a hidden equation, and the very first pillar of that equation is value. Value creation just means your work helps the business earn more, save more, or lose less. Think of it like a car. You've got the really shiny visible parts, like the paint job or the leather seats. But it's the greasy hidden parts deep under the hood that actually keep the engine running and make the car move forward. Employers pay the absolute big money to the people working on that hidden engine, not just the folks polishing the shiny body. If your work isn't tied to earning, saving, or protecting, your value is essentially capped.
Pillar number 2 is leverage. This is when one person's work creates an effect that scales far beyond their own limited time. Picture a water pump. Pouring water by hand? That's completely limited by your own physical strength and the hours in your day. But if you spend your time actually building a pump, well, now every single turn of the crank moves massive amounts of water effortlessly. That is leverage. The more your work multiplies across the business, the more valuable you become. You stop being the bucket and you become the plumbing. Let's look at what this leverage actually looks like in practice, across different roles. It could be a salesperson closing a massive multi-year contract. It could be an engineer writing a single piece of code that supports hundreds of thousands of users. It might be an analyst whose one specific insight completely redirects a multi-million-dollar decision, or a manager who elevates the output of a whole department. The exact role changes, but the pattern is always exactly the same. The result scales.
The third pillar is scarcity. Now be careful here, because this doesn't always mean a skill is glamorous or highly technical. It simply means the market has fewer people who can reliably produce the required result. Finding someone who can casually cook a decent dish at home? Super easy. But finding someone who can maintain high quality, lead a team, and hit exact timings during a chaotic, high-pressure dinner rush, that is incredibly scarce. Scarcity only translates to high pay when it overlaps with intense usefulness to the business.
And the final pillar is trust. Honestly, this is the one almost everyone drastically underestimates when plotting out their career. Trust dramatically reduces uncertainty, and in business, uncertainty is incredibly expensive. Think about lending the family car to two different drivers. One is totally unpredictable. Maybe they speed, maybe they get a ticket. The other is a super steady driver who always returns it in perfect shape with a full tank of gas. Companies will gladly pay a massive premium for those steady drivers. They want safe bets who manage themselves and deliver reliably without creating new, expensive problems for their bosses to solve.
So, bringing it all together, the crucial point is this. High-paying roles aren't just one of these things. They are the ultimate combination package. They weave value, leverage, scarcity, and trust into one highly compensated role. If a job is valuable but incredibly easy to replace, your pay is limited. If it's scarce but doesn't actually help the business win, again, pay is limited. The market disproportionately rewards the combination of all four elements.
Section 3. Spotting better opportunities. Knowing the equation is a great academic exercise, but actually spotting it in the real world is how you win.
You've got to look for roles hidden in the absolute pressure points of a business. Better opportunities are almost always hanging out near money, risk, or scale. If you're close to sales and direct revenue, or if you sit near the operations that actively prevent incredibly costly mistakes, your value is undeniable. Basically, the closer you sit to the most expensive problems of a company, the higher your earning potential will naturally be.
And this means you have to entirely stop trusting job titles. Titles are just clues, and frankly, they can be highly misleading. Instead of getting starstruck by a fancy, intimidating title like executive, you need to ask what actual financial decisions they affect. On the flip side, instead of dismissing a humble-sounding title like coordinator, ask if they directly control real business outcomes. The title is just the label slapped on the box. The impact is the thing inside that actually holds the value. For an excellent example of this, let's look at an ordinary-sounding operations coordinator at a textile export firm in Pakistan. On paper, coordinator sounds like a modest entry-level admin job, but let's look at the reality of the outcomes. If that specific person prevents complex customs delays, keeps international shipments perfectly on time, and avoids missed deadlines that would trigger massive, business-crippling export penalties, they are actually doing highly valuable revenue protection. They are literally keeping the business alive and trusted by foreign buyers. That is a massive value story hidden right behind a completely plain title.
As companies grow, they urgently need people to solve expensive uncertainty. They naturally transition from needing simple, isolated task doers to needing complex problem solvers. The money lives in complex work. It lives where tasks are inextricably linked together, where deep human judgment is required because the steps aren't perfectly clear, where you become hard to replace, and where your impact sends ripples across the entire organization. Complexity creates scarcity, and scarcity commands a premium.
Section 4. Thinking like the market. Now that you see the matrix, we need to totally upgrade your mindset. Before applying anywhere, you've got to run the job through a 4-question filter. Think of this as your personal career checklist. First, what outcome does it actually affect? Second, what happens to the business if this role completely fails? Third, how many people or systems does this specific role influence? And fourth, how easy is it for the company to replace this work? If the answers point toward high consequences, broad influence, and hard-to-find skills, boom, you have just found a highly lucrative opportunity, regardless of what they call the job.
Here is the absolute key mental shift you need to take away from this explainer today. You are no longer a passive applicant just aiming to be noticed. You're a strategic player aiming sharper at valuable outcomes. When you stop asking what a job is called and start fiercely asking what the business outcome is actually worth to the bottom line, everything changes. The entire job market transforms from a frustrating guessing game into a clear, navigable, and predictable pattern. You finally see the board for what it is. I'll leave you with this final thought to guide your future career decisions. High-paying jobs go to people who help businesses win, reduce risk, and create results that are incredibly hard to replace. So ask yourself right now, deeply honestly, in your current role or the one you are actively applying for next, are you positioned as a safe, highly leveraged bet that helps the business win?